Hello and welcome to the Story Behind the Stories, your weekly look at the pages of the Neepawa Banner Press. Thank you very much for taking a little bit of your time and spending it here with us on NACTV. I'm Eoin Devereux, reporter with the Banner Press, welcoming you to this week's edition. Joined this week as well by Casper Wehrhahn. Casper, good to have you here this week.
Good to be here and excited to talk about the things that we have covered in this week's paper, definitely.
Definitely, because you were out and about last week while we were putting this paper together, and the very first example of that out and about we can talk about is on our front page of this week's edition of the Banner Press, the partial eclipse that passed through Neepawa and most of Manitoba there on Monday. It was a very exciting experience for a lot of people to be able to see it with their own eyes, but hopefully you didn't stare directly at it. Don't see it with your own eyes. Make sure you had the glasses on. But Casper, you're a young person. This is your first endeavor into the eclipse. What was your take on how everything laid out, as it were?
Well, it was definitely a very interesting experience. I mean, I've seen other eclipses, but those, of course, were lunar eclipses, which is a lot more frequent and less of a big to-do for everyone because solar eclipses specifically only happen, well, once in a blue moon, so to speak. The last one that we really had was in like 1979, I think. At least the last one significant to our area. So it was a very unique experience for me going down to the flats there where they were providing glasses and all that and a little bit of ambiance for the viewing experience there as the moon made its way across the sky to cover up the sun there and form that eclipse. And it really was something quite fascinating to watch. I mean, we all know how the planets move in our solar system and all that, and then the moons and all that, but seeing it happen in actual fact is really just something to behold. I mean, seeing the progression from start to finish there, even though we didn't get the full eclipse effect, it was just a partial eclipse for us, was really quite something, and I'm very glad I was able to have the opportunity to experience that.
That's the interesting thing as well, Casper, is that we did only get the partial portion of the eclipse. It was only about 55, maybe topped out in and around 60% coverage for the eclipse for Neepawa and the surrounding area. And if you weren't paying attention to online or even the news or anything like that, it might just have passed you right by. Of course, you do need these special glasses in order to be able to see it. And we were able to get a couple pairs. I was able to get a pair from the town of Neepawa. Very appreciative of Nicole and everyone with the town of Neepawa with the forethought to put this together and put together a special event down at the flats for people who have never experienced it for themselves. And to put that on there and to see it, it was interesting because, like I said, if you didn't have the glasses, you almost wouldn't know it was happening. But then you see it and you're staring up with the glasses and you can see the shape of the moon covering over. And as you can see on the front page, a very good example of that. Now, this is why you're going to have to pick up a physical copy of the Banner Press somewhere in Neepawa or surrounding areas so you can see it with your own eyes. If you're not able to get a physical copy, always remember, every Friday morning at around 9 o'clock Central Time, it goes live on our website, mywestman.ca. So you'll be able to see it that way if you're not able to get a physical copy of the Banner Press. And we are very appreciative of being able to use the pictures from Lola's Bakery, of all places. Lola's got the sharpest resolution, the best pictures from the sun, because you can't just take your camera or take your phone and point it at the sun, because much like it could damage your eyes, it could damage your technology. So you've got to do these special sort of things, special sort of glasses, either over the lens or a special lens to shadow the lens that you have on your camera. So we are very appreciative. I took a picture with my own camera as well, with one of the glasses covering up the lenses. It was okay. It was a little grainy. It wasn't quite as good as Lola's or Jody Baker as well. Jody sent us a picture as well So we are very appreciative to Jody also for sharing that with us. And if you want to see some more of hers, always remember you can check it out on her social media, on Facebook and whatnot. So if you want to learn a little bit more about that, you can always find it online there. So we did go on to page 9 and shared a little more of the experience of the eclipse. Now, Casper, this is the first one Casper's been able to go through of this level. Me, I'm a little older. I've seen a few things in my time, including the eclipse of 1979. Although I barely remember it for the most part. I think I was in kindergarten when the 79 one came through, so they kept us in the school. They did the whole thing, but we were still able to experience it through prompters and television live feeds, that sort of thing. But it was still an interesting experience because Manitoba in 1979 got to witness the complete total solar eclipse. A large swath of Manitoba, including Neepawa, were right dead center in the eclipse. And we went back into the archives. We were talking about this. We just wondered what it would be like to sort of share the experience that those people had shared back in 1979. So if you go into the paper and you go to page 8 of this week's edition, you're going to see exactly what was in the 1979 edition of the Neepawa Press in their coverage of the eclipse. They were able to do so many different things. The one thing I found most fascinating was the renderings of the map of Canada showing the path of the eclipse, as well as the path of the eclipse going over Neepawa, Souris, Brandon. Brandon was dead center in terms of the eclipse. The perfect place to see the eclipse back in 79 would have been Brandon. And Neepawa was close behind it, almost at the center line there. So it must have been so cool back in the day to sort of see it like that. Like, we had a good version of it, but we didn't get the totalitarian version of it. And to see that back in the day must have been really cool.
Oh, definitely. I mean, you had the prime position there, and so being able to have that just line up just right to be able to get that sort of view with full covering would have been really quite something. And I mean, it's also kind of interesting going and looking back at this because, and we were talking about this in the office as well, but looking at the photos from our eclipse from the Monday there, and then from the 1979 eclipse, you can see that the viewing technology is much the same. Looked just a touch different, but you still got those standard like blocky glasses and everyone's looking up like, oh yeah, there it is.
Some things change, but some things definitely stay the same. Mm-hmm. So if you want to be able to experience this year's eclipse, and maybe in a different type of way, experience the eclipse of 79, remember to get a copy of this week's edition of the Banner Press. So much discussion about sunshine. Casper, you got a story about a different type of sunshine as well. And I got to admit, I had no recollection or knowledge of this until I read it on the page there. And this is very interesting, as you say, a trip down memory lane.
Yeah, I mean, you're not alone in not really being aware of this. This was a learning story for myself as well. I had no clue that this was a thing that existed, but a few historians or history buffs, as it were, Alan Melvin, Charlie Baldock, Bill Sandercock, and Mike Weber, along with a very well-known historian, Dr. Gordon Goldsborough. He's done some of his own books pertaining to Manitoba and works with the Manitoba Historical Society as well. These gentlemen are getting together and doing a little something to recreate a drive down what was known as the Sunshine Highway. This is something that existed for a good period of time there. I don't have the date or the year, I should say, highlighted for when it was originally founded, but it is in the story there. But it stretched from Sioux City, Iowa to Brandon, Manitoba. So that's quite a stretch of roadway there. Some of it, of course, was gravel. Some of it was paved.
Some of it's still probably gravel to this day.
Oh, yes, it certainly is.
Yeah, not by choice, though. But anyway.
Yeah, and it passed through many communities, as you can imagine, with it being that extensive. Some of them are in our coverage area. I mean, there's Glenborough is included in that. So that's one of the stops that they mentioned. And, of course, Brandon as well. But it was just fascinating to hear about. I mean, I didn't include this tidbit in the story, but from what I recall off the top of my head here, and I hope I'm recalling this conversation properly, but back in the day they used to sort of make up their own special highways as sort of like a tourist thing almost, to get people to these different communities, and they would have their own signs and whatnot. So we do have a sample of what that would have looked like for the Sunshine Highway on that page. It's sort of a simple, S in a circle type deal. And so if you were going down the highway at that time, or the roads, whatever, and you saw that symbol, you'd know you're on the Sunshine Highway, or you could turn onto a certain road to be on the Sunshine Highway, which is really quite fascinating. But yeah, they're hoping to sort of make people a bit more aware that this is something that existed, and they want to invite people to sort of recreate that first drive down the highway with them.
Very appreciative that you were able to get this, put this together, and to share it with our readership here at the Neepawa Banner Press. Even though it's only a portion of our coverage area, our readership area, we like to be able to share these types of unique human interest and historic stories with you. Something that I honestly didn't have any sort of knowledge of or background towards, to be able to learn that. And I hope you're able to take from that same type of experience and to learn something fascinating about Western Manitoba, a part of our history that maybe disappeared, and these individuals are trying to sort of return to its former spotlight, as it were. So let's talk a little bit, we'll get a little bit closer to home now with a few other items. We got a few pictures and a little bit of information from a couple events that just recently occurred right here in Neepawa. One of which was the Community Information Expo that took place over at the Yellowhead Hall right here in Neepawa. It was an opportunity for several sort of local groups, social groups, community groups, and organizations to sort of get their messaging out there and to share a little bit about what they do, and to see if people were interested in maybe participating in one way or another, being a part of a group of these types of things. It was really nice to see so many groups come together like that to share their messaging with the community. So I went down there. I learned a couple different things, and in actuality, most likely you're going to learn those things yourself in future editions of the Banner Press. I got a couple story chases I was able to put together from that, a few story leads. I'm very much looking forward to being able to share that information with you soon. Another event that is going on, had been going on, maybe by the time you watch this it'll be over, but is an annual event, always very well received, is our Rotary Club's annual book sale. It's happening in the old chalet building as we speak, as we record this on Thursday afternoon. But from what I've heard, the bits and pieces, and I had a chance to go down there on Tuesday to see it with my own eyes, is that it was very busy. They always do such a great job of gathering together the books, putting something together, a little something for everyone on that, and it's so well received. So looking forward on a future edition of the Banner Press as well, in sharing a little more information on that, the participation numbers, how many books were sold, and that type of thing. So definitely keep an eye out for that in a future edition of the Banner Press. Talking about all these things that are going on in and around Neepawa as we shift into the spring. We also got another great sort of thing to share. And Casper, you were able to get this. Of course, the Farm and Leisure Lottery, a huge annual fundraiser for the medical clinic right here in Neepawa, always very successful. This year it seems to be no exception, right?
Yeah, I mean, we had a bit of a story on it previously leading up to this. talking about how it was going and getting a little finer look at how things work behind the scenes there with people answering phones and all that. But we have our first winner of the draw, the early bird there, and it was Muriel Gammy. She got a voucher there for Enns Brothers, $12,000 voucher, which is pretty significant. And I mean, it sounds like it's going to be put to good use, not just for her, but the community as well. So be sure to take a look at that and get a bit of a closer look at the details on that. I mean, Muriel's well known for work on the trails there, so I'm sure you can have a little hint of what that's going to be used for. But yeah, it seems to be going over really well. Mary Ellen Clark did mention a little bit of figures when I had met with her that day, and I don't remember them, unfortunately. I didn't write it down. It was just sort of general conversation we were having, so I didn't have my notepad or anything like that. But the numbers that we had before in that little preview story, so to speak, have definitely been smashed.
Yes.
And I can only see it going further from there, considering how much time is left in the draw. I mean, this is a fantastic cause that people are supporting. And I mean, Muriel herself, for example, she's not really done lotteries before. She doesn't do lotteries. But she said, this is a great cause. I want to support this. And she has thought of just, donating money in the past. But, got the lottery ticket this year and just happened to win. And she was very happy to be able to support the lottery in this way, because it does go to one of our local clinics here, and that's something that is used to the benefit of not just us, but communities around us. Well, I mean, expansion of services, getting new equipment and all of that, quite literally expanding the building, as it were, and making improvements there. So it's awesome to see this going well each and every year.
That's right. And again, it's always nice when an individual such as Muriel, for example, who is such a well-known individual for volunteering their time and giving to the community of Neepawa and so many of the great local groups. It's always nice when somebody like that wins the prize. It just feels like that little bit of karma coming through. There's too many times in the world where it feels like karma doesn't hit where it's supposed to hit, and it's nice to see it when it does happen. It's nice to see when good people get good things that happen to them. And what was kind of interesting as well is it was the early bird prize. A lot of people, the other day I was speaking with Mary Ellen as well, down at the Community Expo in fact, and she was sharing with me, it's always nice to see when they have the option, as opposed to just taking the straight cash, that they decide to take the prize for it. And they went down to Enns Brothers, and you'll see the picture that Casper was able to take. They were in front of some of the machinery at Enns Brothers, and I am very much sure, as Muriel said, that it's going to get some very good use. And don't forget, there's still time. If you're watching this, if you're watching this in like October, it's over, it's done. But if you're watching this within the next 24 hours or so, there is still time to pick up some tickets for the Farm and Leisure Lottery. It has done so much good for the town of Neepawa and for the region. It has done so much to uplift and improve the medical clinic. Even though we are getting the new hospital, the significance of the medical clinic is not diminished in any way, shape, or form by the creation of the new and expanded hospital. They work together in a way, in a sense, to make Neepawa and the surrounding region a better place to be. All right, now a couple minutes left here. We got to go through a couple different things here with you. Casper, again, I must be sort of planted in my desk, or maybe too lazy to go out and about. But you were out and about at this other event as well. It was the Accessibility Park, a story that we have covered in a previous edition of the Neepawa Banner Press. A great project that's moving forward for Touchwood that they're doing for our community as a whole. And you were able to go down and check out one of the luncheon fundraisers they did for it, didn't you?
I did, yes. I unfortunately wasn't able to get final results from this, so I couldn't get a figure there for what it had raised, but there was a fundraiser lunch being held by Arts Forward in support of the accessible park there that will be made close to the Touchwood grounds there, I guess on the Touchwood grounds, technically. Yep. But, for the use of everyone in the community or whoever visits the community. And it looks like it had a really good turnout. I mean, I've got some close-up shots there just of some of the people enjoying their time there, and some of the artists from Touchwood, because they were doing a little bit of a exhibit opening as well, so a joint event there, doing an interview with John Drinkwater from NACTV, and I'm sure you'll be able to see that on the station at some point in time here, if it's not on there already. And yeah, I mean, it looked great. I didn't have the crowd shots there, but I saw some afterwards that really did do a good job illustrating just how much support this event got. And I mean, that's what Yvonne Sisley said. That's what Touchwood Park Association said in their public statement as well, that they were just blown away by the support that was shown here for that. Because, I mean, this is something that benefits everyone, right? If you can make your community more accessible to people of different needs, because, there's a lot of varying needs, whether you're an older person or younger person, missing a leg, need to use a wheelchair. If you can make that accessible to everyone, it really just improves the community as a whole. It makes it more enjoyable for everybody.
That's true. That's very great that they've seen the need in the community of Neepawa. They've decided to build this accessibility park. It's going to be something that's going to be a lot of fun for people of all ages, all demographics, and very much we look forward at the Banner Press to be able to share these types of stories with you. So very much looking forward to the next time we're going to be able to share with you some of the information. And of course, when the day comes, that official ribbon cutting to get that thing open and accessible for every one of us. All right, let's head back over to the sports section, as it were. This time of year, things start to slow down a little bit when it comes to local sports. We're in between that lull between the hockey and the curling season ending and the beginning of baseball and other activities. But we're very pleased to be able to share this with you. Neepawa Titans Junior A hockey team, they recently held their year-end awards banquet. They were able to hold it a little later than usual because they had that playoff run. They didn't get as far as maybe we had all hoped for, but they still did a tremendous job representing the community of Neepawa. And those young people definitely sort of deserve accolades and applause, in my estimation. And to a degree, they did receive it. Oops. Dropped my paper. They had their year-end award, and they gave out all the different prizes and awards here. Now, I don't want to turn this into a laundry list, as it were. That's why you got to pick up a copy of the paper and see those names and see those pictures for yourself. It is a full page on page 12, color feature, where we spotlight all the different players who were recognized this year. And there's going to be a good portion of those players who are going to be coming back next year. There's only, I believe, about 5 players that aged out in Junior A. Once you hit about 20, you age out. That's your final year of eligibility. So we have to commend those individuals who supported Neepawa all throughout the years that they played here. But the team really does look like it has some potential for next year. Some of the younger players really stepped up this season and became leaders in their own way, be it whether it was offensively or in the locker room or whatever. So the future of the Neepawa Titans is looking pretty good. So hopefully you'll be able to sort of check that out for yourself. On the other page as well, page 13, we also have 2 additional pictures for people that were also singled out. Ken Pearson, who, if you're a consistent reader of the Banner Press, you know this story. He won his 600th MJHL game during the regular season and his 700th Junior A game during the regular season. So the board of directors for the team, they spotlighted that during the banquet, and they gave him his accolades, richly deserved accolades as well. And they also gave away the award for the Memorial Volunteer of the Year. And that one went to Tanis Stewart. If you've gone to the games for the Neepawa Titans, you've seen Tanis around. She's always running about, making sure everything is running smoothly, taking care of the intermission games and all those types of things. A lot of the things that operate around the Neepawa Titans hockey games wouldn't be able to operate if it weren't for the efforts of Tanis. So congratulations to Tanis and congratulations to Ken on those accomplishments. Very great to be able to share those with you in the pages of the Banner Press. So many other things we could talk about as well, but there's only a little bit of time there. We've got pictures sent to us from the Arden Curling Club and their mixed curling bonspiel, which recently occurred. We've got some pictures from Rob Waddell, was out and about doing some nature stuff, has pictures on the spring thaw, as it were, in and around Neepawa. And I also had a chance to speak with Kate Jackman Atkinson about the Roxy Theatre. They are hosting a free movie day on Wednesday, the 17th, as part of National Canadian Film Day. So they're going to be showing 2 films. One of the films I'd never heard of. The other film I've seen as a youngster. The first one is a cartoon called Ballerina. It's a children's, family-oriented film. It was Canadian-produced type thing. So that's great. And the other one, and Casper, you've never heard of this one. We were talking about this off air, was a 1983 film called Strange Brew. Again, maybe you know this, maybe you don't. There used to be a show called SCTV, Second City Television, on John Candy, Eugene Levy, Joe Flaherty, who actually, comedian, just recently passed away, like within the last week, interestingly enough. Rick Moranis and Dave Thomas, and Catherine O'Hara. Catherine O'Hara, you'll probably know from Schitt's Creek.
Schitt's Creek.
Yep, she was the mother in that, and she started on SCTV. But that's what Strange Brew is. It was a couple characters from SCTV, prototypical Canadians, as it were. You know, whenever you hear "take off, ya hoser," that's where they got it from.
It's gained a lot of traction. I mean, even these days, just on rare occasions, if I want to be a little goofy with it, I'll say, "Oh, ya hoser."
Oh God! Really, I should show. As part of that movie as well, they did a video with Geddy Lee, and Geddy Lee is the singer for the band Rush, big Canadian band from the 80s. And it is just the funniest thing to hear this very serious musician, Geddy Lee, doing a song with these 2 characters. God, I wish... All right, I'll ask just quickly. All right, who are popular characters nowadays?
Oh God!
Is there any version of like Wayne's World or Bob and Doug McKenzie or anything like that nowadays? Probably on YouTube, I'd imagine. But
that's a weighty question. I mean, for me, I don't know if there's like specific ones that I could pick that seem to hold as much weight as those ones do.
And again, that's because media has so diverged. It's not just you get it from television or movies anymore. You got options. But another option you can get is to check out that free movie, both those free movies, next Wednesday. And don't forget, when I say free, I mean free. You walk through the door, you sit down, you can watch what you want to watch. One of them, I believe, is going to be happening at 5:30, and the other one will be at 7:30 on Wednesday the 17th. Free plug for Roxy Theatre there, no charge. Well, that's pretty much it for this week. We appreciate, as always, you taking the time to watch us here on The Story Behind the Stories. If you have any story suggestions, always remember to get in touch with us at 476-3401 or via email at news@neepawabanner.com. Any supports in terms of that are always appreciated. If you have any story ideas, we'll try and chase them down as best we can. So That's about it for this week, Casper. Thank you very much for you did a lot of the heavy lifting on this week's edition.
You know, it switches around. We take turns. But yeah, thank you for having me here, and I'm looking forward to another one.
And again, thank you, as always, for tuning in to NAC TV and the story behind the stories. I hope you have yourself another fantastic week.